Hello and welcome to Sewing Classes Dabi in another sewing tutorial with Tanya Budina. Today I thought I will show you how to make a pattern for a simple straight skirt. So we will need tape measure, paper scissors, some paper to make notes on, and paper to make a pattern, and of course drawing pencil. First, we will need to take measurements, as to make any garment or any pattern you need to have measurements. Okay, shall we start? Today we have our model Victoria. She's going to help us to take measurements for the skirt. First, we need to take waist measurements. See here, I tied a string on her to show where the waist is. So waistline is normally your narrowest place on your body, but you can easily check it. If you bend sideways, see where body naturally bent in the corner, that would be your waistline. Normally it's a lot higher than people think it is. So if you measure the waist, she has 64 centimeters, so write it down. Next, we need to measure the hips. The hip line is normally your widest point, so if you look sideways, you can see that the most sticking out part, the widest one, will be your hips. So if you measure this here, measure this, just check it's on the widest point. So she has 100 centimeters. Hip line is normally about 18 to 25 centimeters down from the waistline. You could measure where the hip line is from the waistline simply like that. So if you look at it and if you measure it, so she has about 20-21 centimeters. So when we will make the pattern, we'll take it in account. So her hip line is about 20-21 centimeters down from her waistline. And the last measurement, the length, we will make mini skirt for her, so we'll say 45. So this is it. This is only 3 measurements you need to make a skirt. Right, so now we have our measurements, which is a waist 64, hips 100 and length 45. So what we need to do first, we need to divide our hips and waist measurements by 2. So 64 by 2 will be 32, and 100 divided by 2 will be 50. That will be our half measurements, which I normally use in pattern making halves, because we will be making just a half of a skirt, as right and left is the same. So we don't need to make all of it, we'll make half. Then we need to think at that stage, do we want it to be fitted skirt or do we want it to be a little bit looser skirt? If we don't want it to be very fitted, we would need add a little bit of ease to our measurements. But if you want it to be fitted, it would look like that. I will add 1 centimeter for the hips and 0 for the waist, or leave waist as it is, because I think waist needs to be quite snug fitted on a skirt. And then when we've done that, we need to divide it by 2 again, so we'll get quarter. 32 divided by 2 will be 16, and 51 divided by 2 will be 25 and a half. So these are quarters. This is what we will be using. So this will be half, that will be quarter. Okay, when we start, first thing we need to draw a straight line perpendicular to the edge of our paper. So I'm using this ruler for 90 degrees angle. So I'm going to draw exactly 90 degrees, and then I'll carry on with my normal long ruler. Yes. this will be our starting line, and also it's going to be a waistline. Then we need to draw a hip line, which is, as we measured, our model was 20 to 21. I'll put 21, so I'll mark 21 into points. So we draw hip line exactly parallel to the waistline, so everything is nice and straight. And then we need to draw the bottom of the skirt line, which is going to be whatever length we measure. So we had 45, so we need to measure from the waistline down 45 centimeters. And draw bottom of the skirt line. That we're going to be hem line. Right. Okay. Right, next we'll need to start making a front half of the skirt, front panel. We will mark the waist first, so we will be using our quarter measurements here. First we have take 16, and to 16 we need to add some amount for the front dot. Front dots are not normally very big. In this case I'll just do 2 centimeters, so 16 plus 2 going to be 18. And then we need to measure dot position. So if we 18 by 2 will be 9, that will be center, but I would move it towards the side seam by 1 centimeter, so I'll put it like this on 10. That will be center of the dot position, and as we said, that going to be 2 centimeters. It means that we need to measure centimeter and mark on each side from the center mark. That will be our dot position. Next, we need to mark the hip line, and hip line measurement, quarter measurement, is 25.5. So we'll measure 25.5, and at the bottom we need to measure the same amount as on a hip line, which is 25.5. So we've got our edge marks, so we're going to connect them. With the straight lines for now. Then we need to draw all our dot. Front dot are not normally very big, so about 10 centimeters, 11 maybe, but I'll do 10. So it's that. And then if we visually drop the line down like this, kind of straight, we could draw the dot straight, or we could move it towards the side seam by about 5 millimeters, and then connect the center dot position line, dot position mark with it, and then we'll just draw all our dot. That's it. So this is the front, and of course we can't have it a straight line, so we need to draw a curve here. We could use French curves rulers, but I don't do that, so I just draw it by eye, like that. Okay, then we need to leave a little bit more space than this amount, so we could fit the bags and the seam allowances. So if I leave a little bit more, and I'll draw somewhere here, again I'll draw line perpendicular to a waistline. That's going to be center of the back of the skirt. So you can see the front panel, we were drawing from the center front, from this point to here. And then the back panel of the skirt will be drawing from the center back towards this way. It will be measuring from the center back line. So first we'll mark waist. So our quarter waist measurement is 16. What do we need to add dart amount to that as well? However, back darts are normally bigger than the front. So I would think, because she has such a big difference between hips and waist, I would make back dart 4 centimeters. So we'll have 16 plus 4 will be 20. And then we'll do the same, so half of 20, 10, and we'll move towards the side seam by 1 centimeter for that position. That will be center of the dart, and we measure half of the dart amount, which 2 centimeters this way and 2 centimeters this way. So that will be that position. Next, we are going to mark the hip line, and we'll take 25 and a half, a quarter of a hip measurement, just 25 and a half. Yeah, and we measure the same amount of 25 and a half at the bottom. For the straight skirt, it needs to be the same. Then I'm just gonna make our marks. Right, now we need to draw the back dart. Back darts are normally a lot longer than the front. Could be 12, 13, 15 centimeters. I'll take 15 because her hip line is 21, so I think that feels, to me, looks right. And then again, if we draw like a visual line down from the waistline, like this, and I would move it again by 5 millimeters towards the side seam. So this would be our end of the dart. So connect the central mark with the end of the dart mark, and then we'll draw the rest of it. So this is the back, and we do the same with the side. So we need to draw a curve. It looks about right. Right, now, next, what I would do, I would drop the waistline on the front, because I think it's quite natural on the front waistline to be a little bit lower than on the side and the back. So, but it could be anything between 15 and 25 millimeters. So I'll put 15, as that is quite small size. And then we just need to draw a curve to connect with this mark, yeah. On the dart though, these amounts need to be the same, so we don't have any jiggly lines like this. So that will be our new waistline. Yes, there you go. This is a pattern. Next, we need to add hem allowance. And now we could do anything, 3, 4, 5 centimeters. I would probably add more than 5, and I can probably do less than 2. So I would do 3 in this case. Then we need to add seam allowance on the side. So I'll use a stick of 15 millimeters. That's quite handy for seam allowances to draw, and I'll go parallel to our side seams. Then we need to think if we're going to do just our skirt just plain, or are going to have a split or maybe vent in the back of the skirt, which is probably will. So for the vent, if you're doing a vent, we'll need to add 5 centimeters to our center back line. 5 centimeters is just right good amount to make a vent. Sometimes I see people do less, but I think it's not good to make any less. Right, so have this, and how long you need to decide yourself. I will do 20 centimeters, even the skirt is quite short, but it's better to have a little bit more than a bit less. So this will be my vent. And then of course we don't want to cut this like that, so I will round it up like this, and then if we erase all extras, so you could see what we have. Right, so we're good. Now we just need to add seam allowance to that. There we are. Okay, this is our pattern. This is a straight skirt, but if you want to make a pencil skirt, what we would need to do, we just need to make the bottom of the skirt a little bit narrower than it is. Because it is quite a smallish size and it's short, I will narrow it only by about 2 centimeters on the side seam on front and the back. So if I mark 2 centimeters on a bottom line, and then I'll put a mark on the side seam line about approximately 3 centimeters down from the hip line, like that. And then if we connect those marks like this, that will make it quite a nice pencil skirt shape. So see, this would be a pencil skirt. That is quite a nice shape. And you could, I normally mark both of them on the pattern, so you could have this pattern for straight skirt and for the pencil skirt for the same, so you don't have to draw 2 patterns. You could use one for both. Okay, and that would be seam allowance for the pencil skirt. That's it. Our pattern is ready. Now I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so we got a pattern now for the front and the back for our skirt. Another thing I wanted to mention, this pattern is for high-waisted skirt because we use the natural waist, so we measure the natural waist and the height of it. But now it's quite common in today's fashion to wear skirts quite low, a lot lower than your natural waist. So it could be anything between 1 inch, 2 inch, or even 3 inches, or 2, 3 or 7 centimeters down, or even 10 centimeters down from your natural waistline. So I will show you how you do that. So when you have your normal, like original pattern with your original waistline, if you want to make it low-waisted, what you do, you just need to draw waist parallel to your waistline down, however lower you want it to make on front and back. So if I'll make it 5 centimeters lower than a natural waist, which I think is quite normal to have skirt 5 centimeters lower. So see, and then we'll have another waistline for the lower waist. And at the back, of course, we will draw straight because the waistline at the back is straight. So that will be at the back. And of course we need to add seam allowance to those lines, so we know it's there. Make sure we don't forget. Don't forget seam allowance, very important. Right, there we are. So this is a high waist or natural waist, and this is a lower waist. That's it. So we could cut it out for low waist if you wanted to. This is the front. I'm just going to write down front, back, and this is center front, fold line, and that will be center back. Right, Xavier? Another thing I do a little bit differently, and I think it makes it a lot easier, I cut out dots on my paper pattern, only on my paper, so when we'll come to drawing it on the fabric, it's very easy just to draw around the paper, and we have marking and to sew it. There we are. Okay, this is our pattern. So front and back. It's all ready for us to make a skirt, and that we're going to do next time or next lesson. So now our pattern is done and we're ready to make a skirt. So if you make your own patterns for next lesson, you could make your skirts with me. How much fabric do we need to buy? I'll give you a couple of examples. Of course, it will depend on how long the skirt is, how big the size is, and how wide fabric is. So what you'll need to do, take your hip measurement plus about 25. If this amount is less or the same with the width of the material you're going to use, then you will need to buy only one length of the skirt plus about 15 centimeters. So we'll have 5 centimeters for the hem, and we'll have 8 to 10 centimeters for the waistband. Of course, you could buy a little bit more just in case. But if your hip measurements plus 25 is a little bit bigger than the width of the material, because some materials could be quite narrow, then you will need to buy 2 lengths of the skirt. For example, if your skirt is 50 centimeters long, you would need to buy 50 plus 50 plus 15. And 15 would be just a little bit of extra for waistband and a hem on the skirt. So I hope it helps. If anybody have any questions, please write me in the comments and I will try to answer all of them. And I hope you enjoyed our sewing lesson today, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching.